You felt it. Maybe last night. Maybe right now. That burning in the soles of your feet that starts around bedtime and just won't quit. Or the tingling in your fingers when you wake up. Or that strange electric sensation that shoots up your leg for no reason that anyone has ever been able to explain to you. And you've probably been told the same thing I hear from patients every single week. It's just part of getting older. There's not much we can do. But what if that answer was wrong? What if there's something happening inside your body, something you're exposed to every single day, that's quietly, steadily destroying the nerves that give you your balance, your sensation, your independence? And what if most of the people suffering through this have absolutely no idea? I'm Dr. Megan Foster, and I've spent the better part of 2 decades working with seniors who were told their nerve pain was inevitable. What I've found, and what I want to share with you today, has changed lives, not because it's complicated, because it's true, and because no one ever bothered to explain it clearly. Before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that right now. And I'd love for you to leave a comment below telling me your age, where you're from, and whether you've been experiencing any of these symptoms. You'd be amazed how many people watching this right now feel exactly like you do. We're a community here, and you are not alone in this. Now, let me tell you about a man named Gerald. Gerald was 68 years old when he first came to see me. He wasn't diabetic. He wasn't on any unusual medications. He exercised, walked his dog every morning, had done it for years. But for the past 2 years, his feet had become something he dreaded, burning at night, numbness in his toes that made him feel like he was walking on foam. He'd started grabbing the wall when he turned corners because his balance just didn't feel right anymore. 3 doctors had told him it was peripheral neuropathy, which is true, it was, but none of them had ever asked him what he ate for breakfast. When I sat down with Gerald and really listened, here's what I found. Every single morning, he started his day with a large glass of orange juice. Natural, fresh squeezed, he told me proudly. A bowl of oatmeal and a banana. No protein, no fat. Just a wave of sugar hitting his bloodstream before 8 a.m. And that, I told him, was the poison. Now I need to be precise here, because I don't use that word lightly. And here's the thing, I'm not talking about something toxic in the traditional sense. I'm talking about blood sugar. Specifically, the chronic, repeated spikes in blood glucose that happen when we eat the wrong things at the wrong time, without the buffers our bodies need. And the reason I call it a poison is because of what it does to nerves. Silently, over years, without a single dramatic warning sign until the damage is done. Here's exactly how it works. When blood sugar spikes, really spikes, the way it does after liquid sugar or a bowl of refined carbohydrates with nothing to slow it down, it doesn't just float harmlessly through your system. It attacks the tiny blood vessels that feed your nerves. We're talking about vessels so small they can barely be seen. And when those vessels are repeatedly bathed in high glucose, they become inflamed, stiff, and narrow. The nerves they're supposed to nourish start to starve. The myelin, that's the protective coating around your nerve fibers. Think of it like the rubber insulation on an electrical wire, begins to thin and break down. And once myelin is damaged, signals don't travel cleanly anymore. You get burning, you get tingling, you get numbness. You get the electric pain that no painkiller ever quite reaches. This is not diabetes. This is not a disease reserved for people with a diagnosis. This is what happens when blood sugar spikes too high, too often, over too many years. And I want to be very clear, it is happening to millions of people who have never been warned. Now, this is important. Let me tell you where the hidden danger comes from, because I can almost guarantee that at least one of these will surprise you. The first is liquid sugar. And I don't just mean soda. I mean orange juice, apple juice. Those green smoothies people make because they seem so healthy. When you drink your fruit instead of eating it, you strip away all the fiber that would normally slow down sugar absorption. That juice hits your bloodstream like a wave. Your blood glucose spikes. The damage begins. And the tragedy is that so many people are drinking this every morning, believing they're doing something good for themselves. The second source is refined carbohydrates eaten alone, without protein, without fat. A piece of toast, crackers, white rice, a bowl of cereal. Now here's the thing. Carbohydrates aren't the enemy, but carbohydrates without a buffer are a problem. When there's no protein or fat in the meal, there's nothing to slow down digestion. Sugar hits the blood fast and hard. Pair that toast with eggs, and everything changes. The spike flattens. The nerve damage slows. The third, and this one really surprises people, is constant snacking. Grazing throughout the day. A little something here, a little something there. Because here's what's actually happening. Every time you eat, insulin rises. And when insulin is constantly elevated all day long, your nerves never get a break. They need that quiet time, those windows between meals when insulin drops and the body can repair itself. Constant snacking eliminates those windows entirely. And I want to add one more thing, because this one breaks my heart a little. There are common medications, ones that millions of seniors are prescribed, that quietly deplete the B12 your nerves desperately need. Acid blockers, certain diabetes drugs. If you're on these medications and no one has ever told you to monitor your B12 levels, that is a conversation you need to have with your doctor as soon as possible. I completely understand why people don't connect what they're eating to what they're feeling in their feet. We don't experience food that way. We eat lunch, and 3 years later, our nerves are damaged. The connection is invisible, and when a doctor tells you it's just aging, it closes the door on any further questions. It makes it feel permanent, like something happening to you instead of something happening because of something you can actually change. But here's what I want you to understand. Aging does not cause neuropathy. Chronic metabolic stress causes neuropathy, and chronic metabolic stress can be interrupted. That changes everything. If you found this helpful so far, and I hope you have, would you hit the like button for me? It genuinely helps more people find this information who need it just as much as you do. So let's talk about what you can actually do, because the solution here is not complicated. It is not a supplement. It is not a treatment you have to wait for a prescription to access. The single most important principle I can give you is this. Never eat carbohydrates without protein or fat. That's it. That's the foundation. When Gerald came back to see me 6 weeks after we talked about this, he looked different. He'd removed his morning juice. He'd started eating eggs with his oatmeal. He'd stopped the mid-morning crackers. He wasn't healed. I want to be honest with you about that, because I will never promise you a miracle. But the burning had become quieter. The nighttime episodes were shorter. He'd stopped grabbing the wall, not because his nerves had magically regenerated, but because the daily assault had stopped. And when you stop the damage, the body can begin to stabilize. Now, there are nutrients that actively support nerve health, and I want to walk you through the ones that matter most. B12 is the most critical. It is directly involved in the formation and maintenance of that myelin coating I told you about. When B12 is low, and it often is in older adults, especially those on certain medications, nerve protection breaks down. Magnesium matters too, for nerve signaling and for the painful cramping that often accompanies neuropathy. Folate works alongside B12 in ways they weren't designed to work separately. An alpha-lipoic acid is a powerful antioxidant that specifically targets nerve tissue. It's one of the few things that crosses directly into nerve cells to fight the oxidative damage caused by blood sugar spikes. But, and I cannot say this clearly enough, more is not always better. Vitamin B6 is a perfect example. At low doses, it supports nerve health. At high doses, taken over time without medical supervision, it can actually worsen nerve damage. This is why I will always tell you, before starting any supplement regimen, talk to your doctor, get your levels tested, know what you actually need, rather than guessing. That's not me being overly cautious. That's me respecting your health enough to tell you the truth. Let me tell you about one more patient, because her story is the one I think about most often. Her name was Dorothy, and she was 71 years old and walking with a cane when she first came to see me. She'd been told, by more than one specialist, that her neuropathy was progressive and that she should focus on fall prevention. She was terrified of falling. She'd stopped going to her book club because the steps outside the building scared her. She'd stopped cooking elaborate meals because standing for too long made her feet unbearable. And I want to be clear, Dorothy's nerve damage was real and significant. What we could offer her wasn't a cure, it was a halt. We removed the liquid sugar, we restructured how she ate, we addressed a B12 deficiency that had never been caught. We added a short walk after dinner, just 10 minutes, because movement after a meal blunts the glucose spike in ways that are genuinely remarkable. 3 months later, Dorothy left her cane at home for the first time on the way to her book club. Not every day, not perfectly. But she went. She cooked Thanksgiving dinner standing at her counter. She told me afterward, "I thought this was just who I was now. I didn't know there was still something I could do." That is why I do this work. That moment, right there. So here is your action plan. 6 things you can begin this week. Remove liquid sugar entirely. Juice, sweetened drinks, even the ones that seem healthy. Always pair carbohydrates with protein or fat. Always. If you want fruit, eat it after a full meal, never alone on an empty stomach. Walk for 10 minutes after you eat, even just around the house. Ask your doctor to test your B12 levels, especially if you're on an acid blocker or metformin, and find out whether any of your current medications are known to deplete essential nutrients. Your doctor can tell you, and it's a question worth asking. Your nerves are not just a source of sensation. They are how you walk without falling. They are how you feel your grandchild's hand in yours. They are your balance, your confidence, your independence. And here's what I know. After all the years I've spent in this field, after every Gerald and every Dorothy, the progression can be stopped. Not for everyone, not completely, not overnight, but meaningfully, measurably, in ways that give life back. You have more control over this than anyone has ever told you, and the time to use that control is not next month, not after the next doctor's appointment. It's right now, with your next meal. If this video reached you today, leave a comment. Tell me your age, where you're from, what symptoms you've been dealing with. Tell me if you've tried removing liquid sugar and what happened. And if you know someone who is suffering through burning feet or numb hands and has been told there's nothing to be done, please share this with them, because they deserve to know that there is something to be done. And so do you.